Now, you might have heard that the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, or SDP, Prince Adewole Adebayo, has been visiting the former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo at his home in Ogun State. With the elections looming, Mr. Adebayo went to see Mr. Obasanjo ostensibly to increase his visibility and advance his cause, which is to become Nigeria's president in 2023. We'll find out how that meeting went in a moment. But on the hustings, Mr. Adebayo has been leading a sort of low-cost, citizen-oriented campaign, which he and his party hope will bring a new dimension to grassroots civic participation, initiate opportunities for mass mobilization, and help to create a political climate in which the electorate can see him as dependable, qualified and dedicated to serving the public interest, a counterpoint to the dominant models of political leadership in Nigeria. So, with just over 5 weeks to go, where do things stand for him and the SDP? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now from our studios in Lagos by the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, or SDP, Prince Adewole Adebayo. Good to see you, Mr. Adebayo. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. So, do you...
Thank you, Charles. It's a pleasure to be with you always.
Yes, lovely to see you again. So, do you have enough in the tank to do the job, to borrow a phrase from New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, who threw in the towel today? It's a tough old job, isn't it, the job of president?
Yeah, we know it's a marathon, and those who come for a quick dash, 100-meter dash, tend to run out of gas along the way, and those who underestimate the headwinds also tend to run aground easily. So we know what it takes. We know that we are bucking the establishment. We know that we are running a race as an upstart. We know that we are doing things which people thought would not work before. So we try to prepare for any eventuality, and we know that people make their decisions out of habit. And unless we go and repeat and reinforce the logic in making the different choices, people are going to say, well, that's how we've been doing it. So this is what we are doing, and we are ready for as long as it takes to see that Nigerians get it right this time around.
Well, I mean, every time I listen to you, something that comes across is your determination, but you do recognize that you are running against the tide, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's the whole idea, because I'm like a lifeguard. Sometimes where you need to rescue the victim, you have to swim across the current. Otherwise, if you swim with the current, you might be making progress, but you'll be going the wrong direction. So Nigerians are stuck on a cliff, and I'm downstream, so I have to swim against the current to get to where Nigerians are stuck and to say, let me rescue the country, because we are stuck in our head. That is the problem. Everyone is living in the clouds, both the highly experienced one, the new one, the young people, business people, people are calling themselves politicals, campaign managers. Everyone is stuck in the ritualistic 4-year error and more error. So what we are doing is to go to each stakeholder and say, look, you can succeed in the way you have been doing it before, but in the end, you get the same result, and then you start all over again. So that is what we're trying to do. I know it's difficult to tell experts that they are doing things wrong. There are people who are experts in electoral outcomes. They gang up together, they know how to raise funds, they know how to organize campaigns, they know how to get all the spin doctors to come on TV, they know how to get the political comedians to come out, they know how to do the mudslinging, you are a thief, you're not a thief, I'm a thief, this and that. They know how to do all of that, and they clock down on election day, they end up producing a winner who can form a proper government, and then they turn against the same person and start the same ritual of tension all over the country. I've been around for a long time, even though I'm just 51 now, but I've seen enough of it since 1991. You go and get somebody you think is easy to make win, no agenda, no proper understanding of the issues at hand. You get them elected. 2 weeks later, you start fighting. They start fighting from nomination of ministers. They're fighting for Senate presidency, fighting for speakership. They keep the fight on forever till the next election. They choose another person again. The same thing. We need to run a government that works, a government that understands the challenges of the day. Ours is about the only large-sized democracy where when you listen to the debates or discussion, they don't deal with the issues that people are facing on a daily basis. That is what we are changing. We are saying, let the issue of the day be the teacher of your politics. If you are dealing with poverty, you are dealing with insecurity, you are dealing with a collapsed economic framework, you are dealing with poor fiscal and monetary management, you are dealing with a total breakdown in cohesion among the elite, you are dealing with problems of failure of infrastructure. Why are you discussing other things? Why are you not discussing these things? And why are you not recruiting leaders relative to how they understand these issues, how they can have competence and resilience to deal with these issues? Why do you want to leave these issues in the room and clown around and then elect somebody whom immediately you will sour over the person and you want to get the person out? So why do you do this? And that's what I've been discussing with our leaders. You go to them, they're not happy with their choices, but they make the right choices. That's what I'm saying. You talk to the young people, they're not happy with their choices, make the right choices. People are on the campaign council of some presidential candidates. They can't stand. They don't believe in them. They don't think they can rule. They don't think they can lead well, but they are stuck there. They say, well, I'm in politics, I have to be somewhere. We say, no, you don't have to be. You have to take risks so that you will not put the country at risk politically.
Well, I suppose the question is whether those people see you as the candidate who ought to be in there. I mean, there have been the psephologists who assess these things, assess elections and so on, place you probably about fifth and say that you've just been pipped to the front runner position by the NNPP. I mean, how do you feel not being part of, for instance, the stream of Nigerian politicians who've been invited to speak at Chatham House in London? I mean, a very prestigious thing where you get a global platform. I mean, does that suggest that you're not counted as part of the best of them?
No, let me start from the beginning. One, I was just one out of 210 million Nigerians. Then later, by June, I became one of the 18 Nigerians running for president. Now, if you say I'm one of the top 5, well, that's some progress. We still have some work to do. But let me tell you, I was the first person to be engaged by Chatham House before any of these people went there. And my philosophy is this: before I go to speak to the British Royal Institute of International Affairs, I need to speak to my own people first. We have the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs in Lagos. We set it up for a reason. We set it up so that our foreign policy fulcrum will be at home and we can project our interests to the world. So on Monday, 23rd of January, I will be at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs to talk about the world of Nigeria and Nigeria's place in the world, so that we can understand that foreign policy is an adjunct of our domestic priorities. So I'm not going to go to Chatham House, the British institution, to talk about how I'm going to deal with fuel scarcity in Nigeria, how I'm going to deal with poverty in Nigeria. Who am I talking to? So, no, I'm talking to Nigerians, and we have our institute. We produce people like Adebayo, Professor Adebayo, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, Fafowora, many people, so many, Akintarewa, and we have Hosa Osagai, one of the best top 3 in the world of political science globally. So why are we selling ourselves short? We went to London and negotiated in Lancaster House. We changed the Union Jack and got the grey, white, green flag for a reason, that we are an independent country. Even we went beyond Canada. We went beyond Australia, New Zealand. In 1963, we were Republican. We said we don't want the Queen to be our head of state. So why do our people go there out of inferiority complex? How do they think that if you say good morning to me in Lagos or Tutuoma in Onitsha, it is not important unless you go to a British institution where 80% or more of the people who are attending to you went on a British Airways flight with you anyway. The same people back home you take there, and you get a Briton to be a rapporteur. So what are you doing? I don't believe in that. I believe, and you are running for the highest office in the land. There are institutions in Nigeria that will invite you. You will not attend, but you will invite yourself, spend your own money to go to Britain to submit your sovereignty. And at the same time, when President Buhari is warning diplomats in Nigeria that they should keep away from the internal affairs of the country. If you want diplomats to keep away from your internal affairs, why do you go to the primate British Diplomatic Institute to go and talk about your poverty, your underdevelopment, your insecurity, your budget deficit, and all your problems? So why do we do that? The British have their own problems. They don't come here to talk to us.
Right. Well,
so
I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Prince, but that's not entirely fair, because a lot of the reason a lot of those people go there is also to connect with the very large Nigerian diaspora that's in the UK, is in Europe, and is abroad. And that's one of the main reasons why they go there, beyond also wanting to interact with the international community and being given a global stage to do that. But let me move on from there. Let's not get bogged down with that, because we're about to, I don't want to run out of time. Right.
Okay. Because Nigerians who are overseas are not headquarters in Chatham House. We have our own missions and embassies there. And when I go abroad, I try to go to the Nigerian missions and speak to Nigerians. I go to the Nigerian consulate and speak to Nigerians. I go to the Nigerian community and speak to them. You don't speak to, there's no foreign diplomat who is going to come to NIA in Victoria Island in Lagos because they want to speak to their own citizens in Nigeria. We need to respect the office of Commander-in-Chief, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I am not going to subject my government at its embryo to foreign supervision or anything like that. I think I take an exception to that. With all due respect.
Well, let's move on from that. I mean, you went to see President Obasanjo recently. You were trying to get his support and blessing for your presidential ambition. How did he respond?
He responded graciously. He responded like a father should do. And we spent quite some time exchanging ideas. I believe that he was extremely happy that I came. He was extremely happy that I explained my mission. And he expressed positive attitude to it, and he understood me better. We disagree on many issues. You know, if you are with President Obasanjo and you are afraid or ashamed to disagree, then you don't know who you are dealing with. So when you disagree with him, you state clearly where you disagree with him. He gets you more respect.
Right, so but you didn't get his support, though, did you?
No, look, he can only vote for one person, and he was of the view that I will make a good president. He's of the view that my platform is okay. There are some gaps he identified in my messaging. He thought that I should pay a lot of attention to the issue of debt because of what he believes I'm going to do. And I also expressed my idea about the debt, where I disagree with you on some issues, even relating to his past activities in handling the debt issues. And he understood me better. He prayed for me. And he also said that should I win, he will be there to assist because all he wants is to have the country on his toes working. So I don't have a problem. And I will keep talking to him because I believe that he understands me better. And with more time, he will understand me. And as I'm talking to him, I'm talking to a constituency of people of his age, people of his experience, and his connection. And for him to understand me, I'm highly interested in ensuring that whatever I have in mind, that people who matter in the country, from the voter to policymakers to former leaders to anyone, traditional rulers, that you understand me. You know that I'm speaking on things which I think the country needs. So I'm happy about the outcome. and we'll go back there again. I want to make sure I get that his vote. I've tagged his vote a golden vote, and I think I'm going to get it. I'm working hard at that.
Right, okay. Well, let's turn to the campaign trail that you've been on for a while, along with the other parties. What do you make of the rise of a new level of what appears to be conflict between the two so-called superpowers of Nigerian politics, the APC and the PDP?
They are very good at it. I predicted it. They can't answer questions, so they are going to distract you with comedy show, counter accusations. They know each other. You will notice that in SDP, we do not insult them. We don't comment on their character because we know that Nigerians know them. We talk about what we need to do, what we need to do for the country, and convincing you that we understand the issues. So now that they are accusing each other of all kinds of criminality, why should we join in it? I mean, let's just lead them for their circular firing squad. But I just want to ask Nigeria, don't be entertained too much by it. It's costly because the time they consume is the time you should have spent to understand the current year budget deficit, to understand the medium-term expenditure framework, to understand the new numbers regarding poverty, to understand how much we need to spend for infrastructure, to understand the new threats to our security, to understand the architecture of our security, to understand the institutional cracks that we have in our fiscal and monetary institutional management, to understand all these issues that are very important to you. The thief by the right and the thief by the left, they are both thieves. Why do you bother? Why don't you focus on the issues which can take your children out of school and put them in school, that can make sure you have a health care system that works for you, that makes sure that you don't die on highways or with potholes and all of that, that can make sure that you have real services in major cities in this country, that makes sure that you can actually say you have treasury officers who are not stealing your revenue, who are collecting your revenue for you, and that Nigeria can become our rightful superpower in our region. Focus on those things. Those two guys calling each other thieves, they're mostly right, they're mostly wrong. But who cares? Let us just focus on those who can do the work, and let us leave them alone. They have a lot of money to do the theater, to finance the theater, but let us understand that at the end of the day, we cannot be in a country that will elect a president we don't want, and then spend 4 years crying and trying to get rid of that person.
Right.
The same thing I've told our leaders.
I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but we're almost out of time here. We've got less than a minute or so. I mean, I know you see yourself as the best hope of breaking that old style of leadership, but I wonder if you're not better off joining forces with Labour or the NNPP or a coalition of other parties to try and achieve that goal.
I've actually been thinking of that I should join forces with them so that they can support me, so that we can get rid of this quagmire we are. So I welcome anyone in Labour Party, anyone in NNPP. I've been talking to the NNPP gentleman. Because we have a background as followers of Aminu Kano. I find it easier relating with Governor Kwankwaso. But I think that the majority of the membership is that they should support me, because we have a message for the Nigerian people. I am not the kind of person you put in power and worry about megalomania. I'm interested in getting the job done. I am ashamed of the problems that we have. These problems are older than me, and I want to be alive when we solve them. I don't want to die and be buried where there's blackout, where there's poverty, where there is insecurity. I want to be the president that gets rid of those things. After I've solved all these problems, those who know how to do comedy can return. But right now, the country can't afford the price or the time or the stage for any comedy show. We need to pay our debts. We need to put our people to work. We need to eradicate poverty. We need to build infrastructure. We are verging on 250 million by the end of my presidency. That we cannot afford to have a country with so many hungry people, 133 million people in poverty, many of them, 34 million of them in the middle classes. We can't do that. We can't afford that. So that's why I'm reminding our people, those who endorse leaders, and I've told them, the same thing I told President Obasanjo, you keep endorsing these leaders and you keep getting tired of them.
Right.
Why don't you let us reflect so that we can get it right, right for the first time?
Okay. Prince Adewole Adebayo, the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party. I want to thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening, and he was talking to me there from our studios in Lagos.